restroom, but otherwise I can continue to drink.
All right, I can pound it out. I'll pee too and pound it out.
Do you know that has other...
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast. This is episode number 82. This is a show where we like to talk about things like comic books, movies, TV shows, video games, political discourse sometimes, but always Star Trek. I'm your host, Tactic Angel. With me, it's Midget Radio, my murderous socialist friend.
Hello.
Midget Radio, I hear you opening some sort of drinking thing.
Yeah.
While I'm talking.
Yeah.
Could you do it any closer to the camera?
I'm trying
or
my
the
best
microphone? Here. Oh man, I've been doing some pregame. I've got a glass of Ethan Cole. It's left over from before we started talking. So
Oh, okay.
This is gonna be a good episode.
Nice, great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm on the bullet.
Bullet or bullet rye?
The bullet rye.
Rye.
Yeah.
Man. That's rough.
It is.
It's also delicious.
A little extra Republican today. But
We're really counting on people understanding that reference. But anyway.
It's for our longtime listeners, you know.
All right, today we're going to be talking about one subject. It is the Orville Season 2. The Orville is a show that Midget Radio hates. But
Sure.
He has decided to watch Season 2, so we're going to be talking about Season 2. Midget Radio, I may have besmirched your reputation here at the beginning, but would it be fair to say that the first season you were significantly not impressed?
Yes.
The last time that we talked.
Yes, that's quite fair to say.
How is your overall opinion of season 2 of the Orville? Has it changed? Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse?
Yeah, hell yes. So actually, most of my impressions of this show were based around like a few episodes in the first season of the Orville, which I really didn't like. And then when season 2 rolled around, I decided to give it another shot.
Because
I think
you were tired of stabbing yourself in the junk with STD?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. And just like, what the fuck, man? I like science fiction TV. I particularly like good science fiction TV. So, you know, I wanted to give it a chance. I think season 2 is a fucking dramatic improvement on season 1. I completely turned around on the show in this season, so much so that I went back and watched season 1. And I remain very cold to season 1. In fact, I still need to watch the last episode of that season. I just didn't care enough to like complete it. But season 2 is fucking great. It's just fantastic. And so yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay. So for historical purposes, I was mostly okay with season 1. I do think that season 2 is quite a bit better than season 1. So in terms of like where I was definitely a little bit more favorable to the show, and I have only become more impressed with it as it goes on. And if I may offer a little bit of a defense to the season 1 show, there's a lot of stuff that happens in season 1 that is actually sort of foundational to the things that we see in season 2.
Yeah.
And I actually really, really appreciate that they've done that, because I mean, we've gotten to this scenario where every show you have to watch every week and every little goddamn thing matters. And it's so fucking boring, because you have a lot of people who are incapable of writing 13-hour movies trying to do so.
Yeah.
And so like we end up with a lot of stuff that's just crap. Yeah. In this case, like the when we start talking about episode by episode, there are setups that happen in the first episode of this, and there's setups that happen later in the season or in season 1 that have set up additional story arcs for season 2. And it's kind of like the best of like, maybe not the best. Star Trek Continues is still the best, but like it's still solid in terms of being episodic and being serial at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like callbacks, and there's some stuff that's planted, in earlier seasons that gets developed and explored a little bit more as the show goes on. But yeah, I think it's found like a decent balance between some serialization while it's largely remaining episodic. I still feel like you can pretty much drop in just about anywhere and get enough.
Well, I mean, you're a perfect example of it, though, because you only watched, I think, maybe 3 episodes last season.
Yeah.
And you were like, fuck this, it's not Star Trek, I'm out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, if you drop into season 2, I know that you didn't see, like, 9 episodes. And then to drop in at season 2, and you can kind of pick up exactly where they left off.
Yeah.
Season or episode by episode, and it still makes reasonable sense and good self-contained stories while still staying true to the larger picture.
Yeah.
That's really what season 2 is doing.
Yeah. It's certainly not hard to follow.
No, and that could be looked at in an insulting sort of way. So, in terms of season 2, we're going to talk a whole bunch about spoilers. Do you want to get anything out there before we start doing that?
No, I don't think so. I think it's maybe a little more interesting, to go through the show. I'm assuming we're going through it sort of episode by episode.
I do have an episode by episode synopsis.
Okay.
So, before we do that, Midget Radio, just for comparison purposes, why don't you tell us on the old school Netflix scale, where are you on this season?
Season 2 of the Orville. I don't know. I'm probably like in 3.5, 4-star territory. I'll probably go with 3.5. Maybe just because I'm tired today.
An element of randomness.
Yeah.
Okay. The truth of the matter is I'm pretty well in the same territory. I would go with 3.5 or 4. So just for the sake of the animation, we'll go with 4.
Okay, good. Because we don't agree all the time. God damn it.
No, we don't.
So.
I mean, like last episode I gave it a 2.25, which is at least this way it balances out to 3.75 stars, right?
True. Yeah.
And you can go, yeah, it's pretty good. So anyway, we're gonna boldly go into some spoilers here.
Yeah.
From here on out, we're gonna go episode by episode. The first episode of the season is Jaloja. There are essentially 3 plots in this episode. And actually, there are 3 plots in a lot of episodes that go through this, which I found to be kind of interesting in terms of a writing preference. But basically, the crew travel to Moklis for Bortus's Jaloja, the namesake of the episode. And this is essentially where once a year he lets loose with the urine.
Yeah.
Ed has to deal with the fact that Adrian Palicki is on his ship, and she's going to be dicking somebody, or she's going to be getting dicked by somebody else. Do not interpret that to mean that Adrian Palicki has a penis, because I hope to God not. That would make it awkward for me.
Yeah.
And Alara's strength is a problem in her dating life. Apparently, men don't like stronger women, but Dan doesn't seem to mind. So all three of these plots seem to occur in this episode. Midget Radio. This is apparently quite a contentious episode. by a lot of people, this is considered the worst episode of the season.
Wow. Well, I don't think it's that. I certainly don't think it's that. I will say that, like, you know, in my efforts to give this show a second chance, I was back and forth on this one, for sure. Because I feel like, because it's doing the stuff I hate, which is, hey, do you remember Star Trek? Look at this funny spin on it. He has to pee. It's not like a purging of emotions or anything like that ceremony, like them old Vulcans have to do. This is that he has to take a pee really bad. Like, that's great, guys. That's hilarious. The thing I like, this is the episode though where we get a little bit more of the doctor, right? And her kid. Is that this episode? I hope that's this episode.
Probably not.
Damn it. But I was not into the, like, Bortus has to pee. And not super into the dating life of a super strong lady.
So I found this on just a straight up comedic level to be just a hilarious episode.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I mean, really, the moment that just killed me was, you know, Kelly is dating this guy, and you know they're having some romantic scene, and they start to kiss, and you're like, oh wow, we're really holding on this shot a little bit longer than I thought we were. And then the shuttlecraft kind of slowly comes into view in the background.
Yeah.
And I just died.
Yeah.
I just died. And I don't actually think that Alara's actress is all that talented.
Yeah, I don't know. She's fine, but
I in the first season I liked her. Obviously, she's attractive.
Yeah.
That goes a long way for a lot of things. But like, fine. Halston Sage, she's in the scene. She's attractive. That's not actually enough to push it across to good. But she actually has a lot of good emotes in this.
Yeah.
When Dan is on the date with her, and I just thought it was hilarious. Though, start to finish, I laughed my ass off at this entire episode, and I understand that it's an episode essentially about the one time a year that, you know, Mocklins have to pee. Never mind how much sense that makes, because, you know, like, I would hate to have too many friends unless the year was really, really long.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't want to have to show up and, like, watch some guy take a piss. That's just me. I'm just being culturally insensitive. I don't know what to tell you.
This isn't the episode where Claire, like, right, her kid is like kind of being bad in school, and he's hanging out with that asshole, and they like hack the replicator to make booze and stuff.
I don't remember which episode that was. That was a good.
See,
I
I feel like that was this episode because it was the one redeeming thing. It was like the one thing that I kind of enjoyed. That we're getting a little bit of her like having to be a parent, and that we're seeing like what her kids are like, and their kids are acting out. And I liked the idea of some piece of shit hacking a replicator to make alcohol. It's like, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
I would make so much alcohol.
Totally. Like, it makes perfect sense. And I was like, okay, this is like a little bit of this was the start of what I felt was like a little bit more focus on character. I mean, whether you give a shit about it or not, like at least it's like a genuine story that's not being played for like comedic purposes. Nobody's making fun of her as a mother or anything like that. It's not set up to be a fucking joke or to be a riff on Star Trek. It just felt like a little bit of, maybe we should try to make some of our characters feel like human beings and not, you know, punchlines.
Yeah.
And I
actually,
like that. Like,
Actually, the interesting thing about this episode is that it was the episode that was held back from last season.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Oh, that does kind of make some sense, actually. But
So the
With
original
the-
first season order was like 13 episodes, and I think they only aired 12 of them, and then they decided they would air the 13th the
okay.
following year.
Okay.
And I'm kind of interested to see how that would have played if they had done it the other way. I mean, that said, I understand what you're saying about the character thing, and you know, I don't think that specifically being funny means that you don't care about the characters. So
No, it doesn't. It's just when it's just when the focus is largely on that. And especially when it's just irritating when it's the parallel to Star Trek is so fucking obvious. That it just, yeah. I'm tired of like I was tired of seeing fucking Star Trek plot lines and Star Trek ideas made into jokes. I just don't care.
let me say this about this episode. I think this is the first episode that you see the writers of the Orville juggling 3 and maybe 4 plots at the same time. And then for the most part, having them all come together. You know what? You might be right. Because I think Finn might have asked Isaac to go to the Gelosia with her.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I remember that
So-
happening. Yeah, because he helped her out with that issue that like cuz he was getting kicked out of school, like he was getting blamed for everything, right?
Yeah, her kid.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think for the most part, her kids also do a pretty good job in the season.
I like the older kid a lot more than the younger kid, but
So, like, when I saw this, I was both like, obviously the comedy in it for me is funny. It hits me
okay.
in the right spots, but I was also impressed with that whole. You've got this Gelosia thing, and actually it's kind of like a first scene, last scene sort of affair, because everything else in the middle is, you know, Ed and Kelly and
Yeah.
the teacher, and then you have, you know, Claire and Isaac and,
Yeah.
and the kid and also the teacher, and then
Yeah.
also whatever the other plot is. But anyway, the point of it is you have Alara and Dan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you have all these things, and they kind of go off on their own, and then they all seem to come back together, and it's actually a pretty tight episode in terms of its writing.
Yeah,
even though
sure.
it's clearly in the comedy space.
Yeah, sure.
So like when this came on and it was the first episode of the new season, I was pretty in, because to get Tactic Angel to laugh really hard at something is hard to do.
Sure. Sure.
And this show managed to do it. Number 2, Primal
2.
Urges.
All right.
Bortus develops a vicious porn habit, which,
Mhm.
given the existence of something like a holodeck, just seems natural.
Yeah.
The just depraved shit I would do.
Yeah.
Clayton, his husband, tries to divorce Bortus with a knife.
Yeah.
The two agree to undergo some marriage counseling. Unfortunately, Bortus downloaded his porn from a Russian website, so it's chock full of viruses,
Yeah.
which severely messes up the Orville.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like this episode was trying to take on the idea of porn addiction.
A little bit. I mean, again, it's more like, you know, it's Star Trek stuff. It's you know, we've seen it before. I do like that at least they went full on into the, like, it's straight up porn, man. It's not Barkley like hanging out with the crew and Deanna in like a weird field, and everybody loves him, and
Beating
you know.
up Hollow Riker and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
banging his girlfriend.
Yeah, it's
Off.
just meaningless sex with dudes, basically, and you're like, all right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, I mean, it was all right. I mean, I was like largely okay with this episode. There's a part of me that just feels like they go to the Bortus well a little too often. But you know, overall, it was all right.
So there's an interesting thing that happens in this season, and we're gonna be able to identify it as we continue to go through the episodes. And that is, we're gonna see like 2 character episodes that deal with the same character in a row.
Yeah.
So, like, you could argue last episode, Jaloja was about Mocklin society. And you're like, yeah, kind of. Even though everything between the first and the last scene was basically chock full of stuff that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But then they immediately go back to the Bortus well, or the Mocklin well, however you want to look at it. And I thought that was actually kind of a really interesting thing. Not specifically between these 2 episodes, but as we get deeper into the season, you have several episodes that actually are kind of interesting for other characters.
Yeah.
So I don't want to ruin that, so I'm going to kind of like skirt the issue for a moment.
Okay.
And we can come back to it. Overall, I consider this to be kind of, you know, a fine episode, but didn't do a whole lot for me. It's not...
I mean, I liked that it was a little less like on the nose, haha. You know, I like that it was. I felt like it was taking it a little bit more seriously. It was at least taking Bortus a little more seriously. And he's often a bit of a clown, like used as a bit of a clown, I think, on the show. And I didn't get that impression as much from this episode, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I agree that he wasn't used as a clown. I think that the whole porn addiction thing is, you know, understandable in our current society.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were trying to make light of that, even though some of the stuff where the holograms were like coming onto Isaac.
Sure. I mean, sure.
A little bit uncomfortably funny, weird, something. So, you know, there was that. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. It was like I wasn't pissed off during this episode, so that was great. Like,
you know, that goes a long way.
It really does.
When you're watching STD at the same time. If this episode was thrown in the middle of season 2 of STD, it would have been the best episode.
Man, sweet relief. Yeah.
Like, who are these people? Why does that man need so much gay sex? Whatever. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to episode number 3, Home.
Okay.
Exposure to the gentle gravitational fields humans live in causes Alara's body to lose some of its supernatural strengths. Isaac breaks Alara's arm while arm wrestling, actually.
Yeah.
So they have to travel to Zalea. Flock shows up, but he's wearing a different set of makeup this time, and tries to kill Alara's dad, who happens to be the EMH.
Yep.
He wrongly blames his son's death on Alara's father, and Alara from a wheelchair has to learn to find strength without strength.
Yeah.
Is it wrong that I kind of love this episode specifically because it has 2 Star Trek doctors in it?
I mean, you know, we've certainly had this conversation before about this show relying pretty heavily on a legacy that it really kind of doesn't have anything to do with, but no, I don't think so. I mean, they're both great performers anyway. I mean, Phlox and the EMH probably in their own Star Trek shows the 2 strongest presences. So, you know, I don't like, that's fine. I overall, like, I liked this episode overall. I don't really like Alara that much as a character. I just there's just not much that's very interesting about her. And maybe it is. Maybe it is the actress a little bit. I don't think she's got a lot to work with though either. But like it was a better episode in that, you know, we got to see kind of her family's attitude toward her decision to be a sort of soldier rather than, you know, to utilize her intellect. I kind of liked that conflict a little bit. Just it was, you know, because it was interesting. It was an interesting aspect of that culture, and I like the world building, and you know, it worked. Like it was good conflict, and I mean, this is like a pretty decent episode of. This is a decent enough Trek episode, I would say. And this actually, is a decent like Deanna Troi episode.
How many Deanna Troi episodes are there that don't involve mind reading?
They're the ones that involve her mother usually, but
okay. Almost as bad.
Yeah. But not bad. Again, we get a little character, you know, work here. Which I can definitely get behind.
So in terms of like getting rid of a character, like you can go to Skin of Evil and just
well, yeah.
I want to pursue other opportunities. Okay,
all right,
you're
bitch.
fucking dead.
Yeah.
So, like in terms of like Helston Sage, reasonably popular with the crowd for, I want to say, mostly physical reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I thought this was a pretty decent send off for that character. I thought overall the episode was pretty fun. And yeah, like you said, basically a good Star Trek episode. Not top tier, but
passable.
Certainly watchable.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
We're not talking about, you know, Sub Rosa or any Star Trek Discovery episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it overall. It was a little TV stupid at the end, I thought, because I think they said goodbye to her like 100 times, right? And then she goes into the shuttle bay and there's nobody there. And then they all come out from behind the shuttlecraft. Oh, bye. It's just whatever, man. A little sappy, a little fucking just TV dumb, but
it's what they do.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Television
it's
shows.
Just
in a way, you know, the Denise Crosby exit is the ultimate
no shit.
Not TV send off.
No.
I'm gonna pursue other options. You're fucking dead. When the writer said you're dead to me, I didn't really realize what he meant.
Yeah.
So, you know, I thought, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I don't think this is the best episode by any stretch.
No, but again, like, I mean, for me, like, this is better than than most of what was in season 1.
Well, they are paying attention to the character.
Yeah.
Even though they're saying goodbye to the character.
Yeah.
They are paying attention to, you know, who was Alara Katan, and, you know, what do we want to take away from that?
Yeah.
And how do the other characters respond to, you know, her illness and her decision to leave the ship?
Yep. Yeah. I enjoyed all of that. Her conflict with her parents. I liked all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. The EMH, I love the EMH.
Yep, me too.
And when you said that they were the two best characters on their shows, I started like thinking about it. It's like, well, you know, it's true on Voyager.
Yeah. No,
But
it's totally true on fucking Enterprise. Come on. There's no one else on that show.
What about Bakula, man?
No, fuck that. Fuck that. I like Trip. I actually genuinely like Trip. And that's it.
Yeah.
But then Phlox is like, hey, the right thing to do is to commit genocide. And Bakula's like, you know what? You're right.
I knew I could get you off on that subject. All right, so number 4. Are we up to number 4?
Yeah.
Nothing left on Earth except fishes.
All right. What happens in this episode?
Ed takes some shore leave with Lieutenant Janelle Tyler. He actually met Janelle Tyler several episodes back.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So he gets captured by the Krill. Turns out his girlfriend is also a Krill.
Yeah.
Though captured at gunpoint, Ed works to save both his and her life as they are pursued by hostile forces.
That's right. That's right. This was okay.
I kind of want to say this is an episode that's kind of a middle chapter.
Okay.
A middle chapter between two more important chapters. But, like, so the actress who plays Janelle in this is actually the actress who plays the teacher in the season 1 Krill episode.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And so she comes back and basically tries to deceive him in order to, you know, get a whole bunch of information on the Planetary Union so they can win a potential war against them, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because, I mean, this is one of the two things that I acknowledge in this episode. There's a second thing, and don't let me forget it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's a middle chapter that's kind of showing that the Planetary Union is trying to work towards getting along with the Krill.
Okay.
Which is gonna be more important later in the season.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I kind of like this episode.
Yeah.
At first, when you see it, though, like, the one thing that kind of stands out as both atypical of our time and of TV writing in general is the willingness to sacrifice to save your enemy.
Yeah.
And that your enemy may actually have some value.
Yeah.
And holy fuck, do I just get so fucking angry when you know, we've talked about it when we watch Star Trek Discovery, and of course the Ba'uld are basically sludge demons.
Yeah.
And it's, and you're just like, God.
Of course they are. Yeah.
And you can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the end of Star Trek Discovery is a member of Starfleet cackling as somebody is basically dissolved atom by atom in painful agony in front of her eyes.
Yeah.
And then they have to jump into the future so that they can save themselves from that person who's already dead.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, like, it's so it's so disappointing to see Star Trek fans look at this and say, you know what? Masochism is correct.
Yeah.
I hate people. If I dislike the things that they think, that they should die a painful death.
I think it's sadism at that point, right? Isn't masochism when you hurt yourself?
Fine.
You need to get up on your
you know,
weird sex proclivities. I don't know. You need to do some more exploration, Tactic Angel.
I'm not sure that I need to explore that in a sexual context.
No, that's what it is. It's a bit right. BDSM. What is that? Bestiality. What's the D?
Maybe I should have just said Schadenfreude, right?
Yeah. Okay.
The delight in other people's suffering.
I like it.
So, and like, our society has moved so much towards that because that's the right thing.
Yeah.
And like, we don't have a lot of voices on the television today telling us, no, what you need to do is take mercy on your enemies, and you want to try to change their minds rather than being like, well, you know, I like Coke, he likes Pepsi, so I murdered him.
Yeah.
That's fucking retarded.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at as a society. And it's just nice to see something else.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can get behind that. And yeah, I think this episode, you know, kind of started to treat the Krill a little bit more like they were a species of people. And not like I hate the first season episode when we first see the Krill. It is fucking stupid. And like Gordon cracking jokes about how they worship a car rental agency. It's so fucking dumb that you can't take any of it seriously. And I feel like this episode kind of turned that around a little bit and humanized, or at least began to start humanizing the krill, which made them immediately more interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree. And really, like, the first season episode when they're making fun of Avis, like, I will admit that sucks and it doesn't make a lot of sense because essentially it's, I mean, how would they know?
I know, it's dumb. It's just dumb all the way around. And yeah.
And the jokes aren't even all that good.
They're not.
If the joke had really landed, then, you know, maybe you look past it. But
yeah,
it both didn't land. And it was also kind of, it took you out of whatever the plot was.
Yeah.
Not that the plot was all that, you know, high stakes at that point. But
steal their Bible or something. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, those are the two things that I really liked about that episode. And, you know, in terms of an episode, it's a good bridge. It's not, you know, the making of a man or whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is. I was a little, I mean, the only thing that I was annoyed with was that the bitch turned out to be Krill. That was it. That was the only thing. I was like, God damn it, come on.
Why is that?
It's just annoying. It's a fucking stupid plot twist. Let the guy just date this bitch. Jesus.
I'd be kind of interested to see if they end up, like, going anywhere with that in the future.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
So I would kind of like seeing that.
Yeah.
Also, I think that actress is rather attractive in a very traditional sense.
What, as a krill?
No, as a woman.
Okay.
Yeah. I may be a robot, but I'm attracted to human females.
Okay. Oh, that's the pansexualism. That's right.
I don't think we ever actually worked that out.
We didn't.
Tactic Angel and Midget Radio don't understand that.
There's a lot of shit we don't know.
It's like, what is happening? You want to fuck what now? All the world is a birthday cake. This is the next episode.
Oh no!
Hard transition. Here we go. Raydor 2 is home to a society that's ready to step out into the universe, or is it?
Yeah.
The crew of the Orville initiate first contact, only to have Bortus and Kelly kidnapped.
Yeah.
For having the wrong birth date.
Yeah.
Is this proof that astrology is evil?
I guess. See, to me, this episode is probably the dumbest fucking episode in this season.
Is it for reasons beyond the proximity of the CG to the planet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I will grant you that the solar foil that they put up is way too close to the planet to be reasonably expected to do what they want it to do in the plot.
Yeah.
Explain to me the other stupid shit in this episode.
So clearly the Orville is a warp-capable society. And they're just like, hey man, if we see life on a planet, go fucking talk to them right now. Right now. Just immediately. It doesn't matter like what they look like, what language they speak, what their fucking culture is, what's going on the planet in general. Just land and fucking talk to the leaders right away. Like, it's just fucking retarded. It's just it was frustrating. It's just thoughtless. It's just completely thoughtless. And I don't understand how any society would come to that conclusion that it's okay to just walk up on a fucking completely brand new world and be like, hey guys, guess what? Space, guess what? Aliens, guess what? Warp culture, guess what? Replicators. Like, I mean, fuck you. And then because they didn't do any research, because of that policy, two of their people land in fucking prison. And now it's like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Maybe now we should do some research on this culture and try to figure out what's going on. Like this whole plot takes place because of the absolute fucking thoughtlessness of the Union as a warp capable society. It's completely irrational and unrealistic. And I can't get behind any of it. Because you just look at it and you're like, everything that's happening is because you guys are idiots. It's like watching a horror movie. All of this is happening because you keep going down, or you keep running upstairs. And then you fucking trip and now you have nowhere to go, idiot. Like, it's dumb.
So, okay, like, I agree with most of that. The thing that I kind of appreciated about this was just, I think it actually aired around the time that we were doing our Prime Directive episode.
Oh, okay.
And I want to say that I had successfully convinced myself that the Prime Directive is actually not a good idea as a result of that conversation.
Okay.
So it was interesting to see, like, you know, what do you do? Planetary Union, these people set off a beacon. I think the way that the space kind of works in the Orville is that it's a little bit more everyone's flying wherever they want, because the Krill are kind of in Planetary Union space, and you know, the Union might be in somebody else's space or an unknown territory, and it's a little bit more dangerous. And like a lot of the whole, as much as I like Star Trek The Next Generation, kind of the problem you get is the idea of this empire building within the Federation, right?
Yeah.
And people will draw on a map where the Federation is. And you're like, really? Really? Everybody in that area is like, yeah, totally cool. And
they
somewhere in
fucking
the
better
middle
be.
of that, like, there's, you know, gang rape planet.
Yeah.
Where Tasha Yar comes from. Do you draw like a tiny little circle around that, and you were like, not here, everywhere else, but not here? And Tasha, why do people do drugs? He's like,
well, because of the rape gangs.
so it was just kind of refreshing. It's like, well, you know, we want to go talk to these people before somebody worse talks to them.
I get that. Like, see, you can that's what's fun about like the Prime Directive, because I think it's a good policy in general, but it's asinine to make it, or just make it a sort of universal law. Like, it should be built on the data that's fucking in front of you, and that's what's frustrating to me about this episode. I can totally see,
it can
like,
be a maxim, but it cannot be a universal law.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I will let Immanuel Kant know.
I know. Yeah. Maxim. Anyway, whatever. We're not going to get into that. But but so, yeah, I just want, like, you can make an argument that, like, we should probably try to establish contact with this planet first, because if we don't, the fucking Krill are going to find him eventually and do God knows what with it. And you're like, all right, that's totally fucking reasonable. So why don't we observe the planet, get our fucking bearings, and kind of try to come up with some idea of like where they're at in their society, so that when Kelly tells them what her fucking birth date is, she doesn't end up in prison.
Yeah.
Just some due
I agree with
diligence,
that.
man. Like,
Do you think if they had thrown in an artificial time limit about the Krill,
that would have made a
or
lot
about
more
some other
sense.
thing,
Yep. Yeah.
that you would have been more on board with this
Yep.
episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man. God damn it. Just make it a little bit rational. That's all I want. Like, let me connect point A to point B, and
yeah. No, I think we're basically in the same place. So the problem with this episode is resolved essentially by them erecting that solar foil, and we both agree that solar foil is
fucking ridiculous.
It's like 6 feet above the planet.
Right? I mean, you're just like, dude, your first amateur astronomy club is gonna figure out that's bullshit right away. Like,
yeah.
Come on, they have telescopes. God damn it. Like, why is it so bright? Jesus Christ, it's white everywhere. No matter where I put this telescope, it's always fucking white.
It's like the mirror over Ganymede Station.
Yeah. It's fucking stupid.
All right, well, we'll move on.
Yeah.
A happy refrain. So the major crux of this is that Finn falls for the ship's Roomba, and the two of them go to the holodeck to fuck like rabbits.
Yeah.
Also, Bortus grows a mustache. Did you like the mustache?
I mean, this is more Bortus as a clown stuff. But I thought he looked great with a mustache. You know,
I agree. I thought he had a lot of authority.
Yeah.
Also, like, whatever it is that Dr. Finn has in the thing to make growing facial hair super easy,
Yeah.
definitely would like one of those.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like, I could get an even beard in an afternoon.
Nice,
that sounds
man.
way better than the uneven nonsense. It takes me like
you know,
weeks to do. God damn it.
That's awesome.
So, all right. So the major thing is this is a development for the kids. You have Isaac and you have Dr. Finn.
Yep.
And the whole thing is trying to get the two of them together. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say this was a really good episode, but what it was is actually like paying a lot of attention to the characters.
Yeah, it was. And it was like it was quiet, and it's like that's all they were really concerned with. And goddamn, dude, like in this day and age on TV, this is like the bravest fucking most courageous thing you can do as far as I'm concerned.
Let's not blow up the earth every episode.
Yeah, we don't need to have laser guns firing in every fucking direction. Thank you.
And, no, I mean you're right, because you don't see a lot of it. You don't have the sort of plotting episodes that are all about character, that are all about setting up the next thing.
Yeah.
Because you always have to have action. You always have to have crying.
Yep. Yeah.
Emotions.
So much fucking drama. Like, yeah. And it was like, I mean, it was fairly like, this is where like some of the humor started to like actually get to me a little bit, where I started to actually like enjoy it a little bit more because I started to feel like, it was coming from these characters. And I kind of enjoyed that. Like I was, and really it was mostly Claire, like, cause I feel like Claire is the one who probably blossomed the most throughout this episode. I just feel like she got like a good chunk of time, and kind of her whole thing with her kids. And then with Isaac, you're like, okay, I kind of know who this person is now,
Well, I mean, she has to carry it because essentially she's playing opposite a straight man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can't ask for a more straight man than Isaac.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think she does. Yeah. And I think she does a great job. And it's kind of interesting where it's like, I don't really understand exactly what she sees in this fucking guy, but like,
I think she just sees a guy who's stable and
her kids like him, and you're like, okay, like I get that. Like,
yeah, her kids, he gets along well with the kids. He's not mean. There's a lot to be said for just a person who's decent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And certainly up to this point, Isaac has been a decent person, even though he's brutally honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to say there was some joke in this when they went to the holodeck and like she said something and he like swatted the table and just I don't remember what it was, but I remember thinking it was very funny.
I don't remember. I do remember, like, because I think it was in like, right, he's trying to like break up with her or whatever, so he's like wearing underwear and drinking beer.
Yeah.
Sitting on the couch, like. Like that one, I was like, okay, I kind of enjoy this because I like these fucking characters now. And so, now this humor is starting to work a little more on me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, And this could be the Brood Witch episode for you, because
Yeah.
for the longest time I hated Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and then I saw the Brood Witch episode,
Yeah.
and something clicked.
It's amazing.
And after that, I actually thought all the other episodes were pretty funny, even the episodes I'd previously hated.
Yeah, fair enough. Stupid.
So I mean, the resolution of this episode is essentially Isaac makes an ass of himself, then he has to apologize. And
Yeah.
Finn accepts, for the most part,
Yeah.
his apology,
Yeah.
which is also something you don't see on television.
That
today.
is very true. Yeah, that is very true.
I guess Finn should have probably murdered him instead,
Yeah.
or cried a lot.
Well, he was wrong, so
Fuck
yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Is it possible I have this written correctly down? Deflectors is the next episode.
Apparently?
So this is another Mocklin episode.
Yeah.
It commences with the Orville being outfitted with regenerative deflectors.
Okay.
These are being installed by Lokar, Bortus's former lover. Of course, Lokar expresses some interest in Tala, who is, of course, the
Who
new
wouldn't?
security chief.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll probably have to talk about that.
We're gonna have to.
But, I mean, he expresses interest in Tala because who wouldn't? And then a murder mystery takes off.
Yeah.
Midget Radio, just go ahead and feel free to take this wherever you want.
This was a really good episode. I like this episode quite a bit. Right, because one, we get, so I think Tala was introduced like a while, I guess right after what's her face, Alara left. So we get like a good chunk of Tala in this episode, which is great. Because wow. But also like, so Bortus's former lover likes the bitches. He likes, right?
He likes ladies.
He likes the titties. Which, you know, I get it. But that's not cool. That's not okay.
Not in Mocklin society.
For Mocklin society. So he and Tala kind of develop a little bit of this thing, and you know, I like that. I even liked where they went with it with the holodeck, because she took him to like, what the fuck, like
1940s,
Louisiana?
like not Detroit,
Was-
but like Brooklyn or something.
Brooklyn
like that.
or something, yeah. And they were just
Like-
kind of like hanging, like it was just cool, like
Just a real classic time and a real
Yeah.
classic place. And they were having just like an old-fashioned-y good time.
yeah, like a classic date, you know, just walking around. So yeah, it was. I really enjoyed all of that. I really enjoyed, you know, how nervous he was about it. You know, that he's felt this way his entire life, I guess. Even though he was with Bortus for a time, you know, and that he's been taught by his culture that that's a fucked up way to be. Kind of a, yeah, it was just a good episode. And then yeah, we find out what, right? He's killed on the holodeck, and then there's murder mystery stuff, and then Tala has to investigate, which is always like a great premise for a show, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, it just works, you know.
And actually, knife aside, this is actually probably the episode where they really start to poison Clyden's character.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of an interesting thing, because I mean, I follow the people who talk about this show a little bit, and there are a lot of people who really don't like Clyden, and I kind of like him because I like the adversary that's brought about by his character being there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you have a lot of Bortus and Clyde, and they're playing off of one another, and like they don't get along a lot of the
They
times.
don't.
And that's kind of interesting, and it's something that normal people can kind of relate to, because you know, I'm sure that you do things that your wife doesn't like all the time because of all of your flaws.
I don't know what, but
Do you need me to send you a list of the flaws we talked about last episode?
it was dozens. So
Dozens. But remember, it was down from hundreds because I was being polite.
True. So at least double digits, I can handle that. It's not bad.
Okay, I'll have to like prune it down to the most important ones. So, like, anyone who's been in a relationship can pretty much relate to the idea of, you do not always coincide with your partner.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's nice having him around because he's the only person who's actually in a stable relationship.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, a lot of times you don't see that. And I kind of do like the idea that they might have to struggle through this and then eventually they both become better people at the end.
Yeah.
I think obviously the show would probably tell you that Clyden has a lot further to go than Fortis does.
Sure. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I like the whole murder mystery and like setting up Clyden as kind of the asshole who killed this guy because he's into chicks. And I really, really like the resolution.
I do too. Yeah.
And it's another one of those scenarios where it's like it's not about what you feel, it's about what's true.
Yeah.
And so the resolution is that Tala finds out, he faked his own death.
Right. So the setup is that like all signs are pointing to fucking that Clyden killed this dude.
Yep.
That's what it looks like. That's what the evidence shows. Everyone's ready to blame his ass for it.
Yep. And Lokar faked the whole thing and kind of set Clyden up because he was an easy fall guy.
Yeah.
And like Clyden, fine. He has a lot of what we will call traditional Moclan values.
Yeah.
And they're fairly condescending in terms of how they write these.
Sure.
But
it's not dissimilar to how like Klingons were written in Trek, but yeah.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not all that bad. There's certainly, when we talk about like Star Trek moralizing, there's a significant amount of that.
Oh yeah.
And I know that one of the things that you had complained about season 1 was kind of the bizarre moralizing that happened in the show.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like this is definitely moralizing, but it's not necessarily. I don't have a problem with the show moralizing.
No,
really.
me either.
But I think they do a pretty decent job in this. And what's really important is that Tala is not unfair to Clyden, even though she dislikes him.
Yeah.
When clearly it would serve her, like she really dislikes him.
Yeah.
They have that random scene together where it's like, if you see me in a hallway, walk the other way.
What a just fucking awesome episode for her. And for that actress. Like, what a fantastic scene for that character. Because you're seeing somebody who understands the difference between like right and wrong, between truth and what she wants to have happen, and between like duty and her own fucking personal feelings towards another person. Just that immediately a multidimensional character, who knows how to like, who's like, what's so cool about it is that she like embraces the fact that she fucking hates this guy, that Clyden is a piece of shit, that she completely fundamentally disagrees with him, and hates him for the torture that like he and his culture have put this other character through, that she kind of fell for. That she can recognize that and embrace the fact that she just fundamentally disagrees with that and judges him for holding those values. But at the same time, like, has this allegiance to, capital T truth, and has this allegiance to her duty that she's not going to go out of her. She's not going to cheat for him to like make him fall, right? She's not going to take it out like on him. She's not going to lie just to fulfill, what she thinks the right thing, should be, which is probably that Clyden should fucking.
So there's two things really. First of all, we can appreciate Tala for being a good character, as in capital G good character, for doing the right thing unto her enemies.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I mean, just from a writing point of view, there are so many times that people do shitty things to other characters in modern teleplays, and like you don't even get the conflict. Like, we can like Gaius Baltar, and Gaius Baltar is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But you at least see him like wrestle with his shittiness.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays you don't get a lot of that.
No.
And in this case, Tala is coming out on the positive end in both cases, because she's doing the right thing, and she's also conscious of the conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just love it because it's not like it's in the same token, it's not how we would typically see something like this portrayed. It's not like the Spock, I understand the difference between right and wrong, you know, and while like she's not like rationally disagreeing with where he is, you know, even though, I mean, you can certainly say that his culture is wrong and all that stuff, but like I just like that in that scene she's crying, you know, like she is emotional, and she can be emotional and feel all of that and own all of that, and still do the right thing with all of that emotional energy. There's something really cool about being able to embrace all of those feelings, while at the same time acting in the right man, like doing the right thing, making the right decision, feeling one way and embracing all of that, but doing the sort of doing the overall right thing at the end. It's just a cool portrayal, I think, of that conflict. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, the perfect counterexample is, what would Michael Burnham do in that situation? She would cry just the same.
And then she'd probably murder the
exactly.
person.
Yeah.
And somebody else would tell her that she was right to do
yeah.
so.
Yep.
I mean, as you went on with that, I started to think about the comparisons, which are obvious, but like, let's take STD as sort of endemic of modern writing, and kind of
that's a terrible thing
like
to say, but yeah.
was I mean, she might be like the paragon of awfulness that our society has wrought, because like there's a lot of stuff out there that talks about, you know, who you can do violence to. If you disagree with somebody, if somebody says the wrong thing, it's violence.
Yeah,
like,
it's violence. Yeah.
No, it's not.
No.
Because I'll tell you what, if somebody can say really terrible things to you, will never kill you.
No, I'd much rather that than be hanged or burned up or whatever the fuck, man.
Or, you know, it won't burn your house down. It won't kill your dog. It won't do all the other stuff. Yeah. But like, Star Trek Discovery does not get these ideas where you're supposed to do the right thing to your enemy.
No, yeah, it definitely does not. Yeah.
And it's just really nice to see a show that's kind of cutting against the just evil, nihilistic nonsense that we see on television.
Yeah. Yeah. Solid episode, man.
I like this episode.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of shit where like this is where the Orville's really starting to turn around for me, and this is where the Orville's starting to be the Orville and not, hey, remember Star Trek. Now I feel like it's kind of coming into its own, and you know, they're trying. Like, they're actually trying and putting some thought into these fucking episodes and into these characters, and putting real conflicts in front of their faces. And letting us, you know, watch them deal with these things in ways that, you know, make sense and are generally rational and generally things you can sympathize with as an audience. It's like, it's becoming like competent. And it's nice.
Well, and I'm gonna say this, and when I say it, it's not specifically Star Trek, but it has the Star Trek ideal in mind.
Yeah, it's got its heart in the right place, I think. Yeah.
and like We could go back a couple episodes to the P Corner. The P Corner is funny.
The P Corner is upcoming, is it not?
Is it not?
I believe it is upcoming.
Midget Radio, I don't know if you know this, but I've been drinking.
Yes, I believe it is upcoming. Tactic
All right, let's forge on.
This is the second of 2 P jokes in season 2 of the Orville.
They're both great. Anyway.
Well, I think the second one is much better, but...
Okay, fine. Oh, no, you're right. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. We're going to get demonetized.
No.
Wait, we don't
God
make any money
forbid.
anyway. Identity. I folded this in to both of them into one description. So
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
So this is Identity Part 1 and 2. Isaac is trying to settle into his relationship when the Microsoft Windows update suddenly decides to reboot itself so that everything that you were working on is automatically lost. Your computer restarts because, Microsoft knows best. Fuck you, Bill Gates.
Son of a bitch. I don't care how much money you've donated to whatever cause. Fucker.
The number of files that I have lost is truly a tragedy. Wait, we were talking about the Orville. They travel to the Kalon homeworld to try to get them to reset Isaac. Turns out the Kalons are evil.
Yeah.
And the crew must turn to their bitter enemy to help save Earth and all other living creatures in the galaxy.
Yeah.
I have to admit, for not specifically wanting to compare this to Star Trek Discovery,
Yeah.
there are several episodes of this show that have sort of a direct corollary to that show.
Okay.
Right? Because Control's trying to kill every living creature in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is exactly what the Kalons are trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like the Kalons more.
Okay. Okay.
And later we're going to get into time travel.
Yes. Yes, we are.
And they fucking do that better, too.
They do it way better. Yeah.
It's probably because you can't possibly do it worse. But,
Yeah.
all right. Midget Radio, I'm sorry. I have sabotaged this. Go on and express your opinion about Identity Part 1 and 2.
I mean, honest, like overall, these were fairly, I would say these were like genuinely, this was genuinely an exciting 2-parter. Cause it was fairly unexpected. And it was interesting. One of the things that was interesting to see in it was that Claire and Isaac were in this relationship, beforehand. And now, now he's fucking turned and he's completely on board Team Kalon and ready to like exterminate the crew. And so like what's interesting about that is it's along the lines of what was always kind of interesting about TNG is it's like, is Data really conscious? Is he really a person in the same, in a similar sense to how we're all people? Or is he just a bunch of fucking bits? And that it was interesting to see that with Isaac as well, the sort of like the coldness from him toward Claire and toward the kids. And so it was interesting to kind of wrestle with that. Like, is he just a fucking robot? Like, is that really all he is? And this was all just bullshit that Claire was imagining and the kids were projecting onto him. Those were interesting questions to wrestle with throughout these 2 episodes. Honestly, the only thing that bothered me about it was that it's more the Union. Like, seriously, you guys just took this fucking robot onto the ship and that the Kalon are like, nope, no humans can come here. Nobody else can come here. You don't find that a little suspicious? Like, God damn it.
They didn't exactly stop them from showing up. Now, the thing that I liked about this episode that kind of plays into what you were talking about, though, particularly when it comes to Data, is I actually thought this differentiated, Isaac from Data kind of nicely.
Yeah.
Because essentially what they've taken on to the ship is like not exactly a Borg presence, but but something that's bent on domination and the extermination of all other cultures.
I mean, he's essentially a spy. Like,
yeah.
not great.
And actually, in terms of story, like, it's gonna open a lot of opportunities to explore. What does this mean for Isaac?
Yeah.
And the interaction on the ship with the
Yeah.
crew, and I think that has lots of potential in terms of story. So many that I couldn't possibly even begin to name.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, we've had like a season and a half of, the Krill are the bad guys.
Yes.
And then this is the first real step where it's like, we need to work together.
Yeah, because now we're facing this existential threat. Like, yeah.
And damn it, if that doesn't have a lot of possibility that's both, shallowly realized in the next few episodes, and
Sure.
certainly in the future has a lot of potential in terms of story writing.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I love about this. Other than that, I mean, there's lots of action porn in this.
There is. Yeah, there is. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I mean, it sucks when your show is just about that. So, I don't really find any issue with that. And I actually do kind of like the debate, like how Isaac kind of decided to betray the Kalon at the end of the day. Like, the process that he went through for that kind of made sense. And I enjoyed that because, like, essentially he's just getting into arguments with the head Kalon about like what is the logical or more efficient thing to do. And it does start to come out, like, through those conversations between those two fucking robots, that head Kalon robot is kind of just a genocidal maniac a little bit. Like, there's just a little of that in there. And that this desire to, like, completely take over or destroy all organic life forms is a little bit inherently irrational. And so what's cool about that is that it allows Isaac to find this avenue that is essentially logical, but also human. Like, to find that path, to get to the fuck the Kalon. I gotta save my friends. I don't think
Actually,
we're
kind
doing
of
the
one
right
of the
thing.
things that's nice about this is when he comes to that conclusion, his solution is actually self-sacrificial.
Yeah.
And it's actually it's fucking incomprehensible that this happened. But right at a certain point, after they talk about the P corner,
Yeah.
they have the younger kid crawl through the shaft with Yaphet.
Yeah.
And they go to a place and like key in like a distress signal. And then Yaphet attacks one of the Kalon and manages to fry him, but he also gets really fucked up.
Yeah.
There are several things happening here. One is, I care more about Yaphet's fate than anyone on Star Trek Discovery.
Good God, yes. Yeah.
And he's fucking goop. He's goop that wanders around the ship and tries to bang the doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you care more about him as a character than people who look like us.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. And the other thing is that they use that, like, he went in and fucked up this Kalon, that he's able to reset Isaac at the end of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just good writing.
It is. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Yeah. It's completely solid. And because we have these, because we have these characters now kind of coming into their own, when Gordon jokes about the P corner, it's funny.
Well, it's
actually
also
funny. Like,
in the scenario that they're in, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. You would want to, put all the waste in one area.
Yeah. And it's great because it's like, I mean, it just makes sense on a number of different angles because you're like, it's funny, it's necessary, and their situation is so fucking dire at that point that you almost need that break. You almost need that break in tension a little bit.
Yeah.
So it fucking works. Like, that's where the humor comes in, and you're like, great job, guys. That's timing.
Yeah, relieve some of the tension.
Yeah.
Like I think some of it's like when you buy a show from Seth MacFarlane, you're like, okay, it's gonna be Family Guy plus Star Trek
Yeah.
equals the Orville.
Yeah.
And I do see that season 1 was a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
I think once you get past that and the show can find its own voice, which is kind of what it's doing in season 2,
Yes.
there's a lot of possibility here.
Hell yes. Yeah. Hell yes.
So I was really happy to learn that they have a season 3 coming.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, I guess if it's not obvious, this is, the last episode, these episodes, this is around the time Midget Radio was like, holy fuck, I think I'm on board.
Yeah. This is about the time the tax change was like, it's about goddamn time. I grant you there are problems with the first season. There are problems with some of the episodes, for sure. There are problems with our favorite shows.
I know.
I could name you some fucking abysmal scenes in Star Trek.
I get
Deep
it.
Space Nine.
Good lord. Seriously, the worst pilot episode of Star Trek.
And the worst ending.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
certainly the most batshit ending.
we'll agree on batshit. I mean, the whole Ducat Kai Wynn thing is so
the grossest thing. Grossest fucking relationship.
I cannot tell you the amount of gay porn I would rather watch.
Oh,
than that.
please, yeah.
So shall we move on to the next episode?
Yes, please.
Blood of the Patriots. Following the unprecedented cooperation between the Krill and the Planetary Union, the Orville is host to a diplomatic talk with the Krill.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Gordon's old friend Oren shows up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The Krill consider him a terrorist. Gordon's friendship threatens the safety of the galaxy, and he is forced to choose between duty and his personal loyalty.
Yeah.
I actually kind of love this episode.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, it's great. It's totally great. There's nothing wrong. Like, you understand, I get it. Like, I get where his friend is coming from. I understand the conflict Gordon is going through. We get to actually watch him go through and try to figure out what the fuck should I do. I love this guy. I love my captain. I think my friend is fucking crazy. Like, it's great.
and it's another episode where we get to see the crew find resolution in the plot that is not satisfying.
Yeah, that is very true. And the other thing I wanted to say actually about this season, particularly this is fairly true for all of the episodes, or for a good chunk of the episodes up until now. This is not like the Ed and Kelly show. It's not.
No, it's not.
Which, thank Christ. We have other people on the ship.
Honestly, Ed and Kelly play a fairly minor part in a lot of this season.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah.
And I think they just did honestly kind of a masterful job of spreading the load between all these other players.
Yep.
I mean, obviously we have Ed and Kelly in some episodes coming up, and
Sure,
obviously when the Orville's under attack, you're going to have people giving orders up there, and it's probably going to be Ed and Kelly.
Yeah, sure.
But when you get into the interpersonal stuff, I mean, we're talking about Yaphet, we're talking about Bortus, certainly Clyden, who's a tertiary character.
Yeah.
We have Dr. Finn playing a major part in a lot of this, and that actually stretches back to season 1 where Isaac saved her and her family when they crashed in that shuttlecraft.
Yeah.
And so, like, they're really doing a good job developing everybody.
Yeah, they really are. They really
kind of
are.
the only person who's not is Lamar, and I think that's mostly just because he's not a great actor.
See, that's kind of how I feel too. But yeah.
I kind of love I think that he has a lot of chemistry with Gordon.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, so I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today. We were talking about the Orville, and one of the things that Jonathan Frakes said about the actor who plays Gordon, like he really loves the actor who plays Gordon, and the reason he loves him so much is because he's like, that fucking guy has chemistry with everyone. Any scene you put him in, he automatically, almost immediately makes it better. And when you think, like, when I was thinking about the show, when I was thinking about the Orville overall, I was like, yeah, every scene that Gordon is in, I kind of like. And I feel like he does a great job playing off of fucking anyone.
You mean Gordon or Lamar?
Gordon.
Okay.
So I think that Gordon just being with Lamar automatically, like it just, Gordon with anybody makes that anybody almost immediately more interesting. So I just think that character, like, he does have a certain screen presence, a certain likability that kind of translates to anybody who's on the screen with him.
Yeah, that's true. But when I'm thinking of Gordon Lamar, I'm thinking back to like first season where they go to the holodeck club.
Yeah.
You want to wear one more zipper than you feel comfortable with, and it's just funny.
Yeah.
And you're like, Lamar's got game, and like Gordon has none. He has negative game.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're just fun together, and it's like, what was level 10? Level 10, she's married. She's still married and has a gun.
So that was pretty fucking funny.
Yeah. So
I immediately wanted to play that game.
It's holodeck. As long as it doesn't kill you.
Yeah, right. It'd be a good time.
I've played Dark Souls. It can't be any worse.
No shit, right? I'm used to it.
And the rewards are so much better. So anyway, so everybody gets their due, essentially. Except for, I mean, honestly, like the first season, Lamar actually has kind of the best episode there is, because it's the social media one.
Oh yeah, that one wasn't bad. Yeah, I did like that episode.
It's Majority Rule. That's what it's called.
Majority. Yeah, I liked it. It was, and that one was actually funny too. I liked when he when he first went out to they were like, you got to like really engage the audience and like be really up and super, interesting and stuff. And he goes out and tries to high five them, and the host is like, you just ran out here and struck members of my audience. It's like, fucking hell.
I mean, every part of that episode is pretty great, and sadly, it's kind of becoming prophetic. But
yeah,
like you look at that episode, and even at the end when he's being hauled off because he just barely made the cut.
Yeah,
and he's like yelling at me. He's like, "Fuck you! I'm a spaceman."
Yeah,
he doesn't say fuck, but he wanted to.
Yeah.
But I mean, Blood of the Patriots is the first. Not the first, but a real good look into the character of Gordon.
Yes, yeah.
And like his loyalty to the crew is sort of tested. He does the right thing.
Yeah.
We get a sad resolution to the story.
Yeah.
But there's also a certain sense of fulfillment there, because his duty essentially beat out his feelings.
I like that, and I like kind of the realization that he had come to, that his friend had died a long time ago. Yeah. His friend had essentially died in that krill attack originally.
Yeah, he'd basically lost his character.
Yeah.
And he was no longer that person that he was loyal to.
And that's a hard thing to, and it's a hard realization to come through, and that actor and that character really earned it in the writing of this episode. It's, God, characters realizing things and growing and...
What? I mean, okay, so Scott Grimes, I think, is probably more of a comedian, but actually, like, it's weird the number of comedians that do a decent job
Yeah.
in dramatic roles, and
Yeah.
I think he pulled that off in this episode.
I've always wondered, like, if part of that is, I think, like, a comedian, like, their true art is being able to get a bunch of fucking people to sympathize with them and their sort of point of view and their humor. Like, a comedian's got to feel like someone you can relate to, for their stand-up to be, in particular, for their stand-up to be good.
Is that why you like Bill Burr so much, and you find that Amy Schumer talking about her vagina
I don't give a shit, but like,
is,
but yeah, I mean, I do.
Less interesting.
I think that's a huge part of it. You know, I think that's a huge part of it, and I think, like, yeah, I mean, even when you hear comedians talk about it, it's like, I mean, these are, you know, when you're watching famous comedians, I mean, these are millionaires. These are rich, fucking wealthy people who have lives that are 100% different from the rest of us. Right, but they still have to seem like kind of the everyman. They have to seem like someone you can sort of understand and relate to and sympathize with. And I don't know. I think that lends to sometimes their ability to translate that into like acting roles and stuff like that. They're just, you know, part of their success is that they're naturally likable people. They know they understand humility. I think.
I think part of it might be also that sort of connection that they forge with you is inherently false, right?
Yeah.
So that, well, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. What I'm saying is essentially, like, your ability to relate to your audience may be somewhat fabricated. And,
to some degree, yeah.
And essentially that's acting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so whether it's, you know, their tendency is towards being likable and therefore causing empathy in their audience, or if it's that they're just naturally good actors and that they've managed to make comedy their thing.
Yeah.
Like, both of those things can be possible, because, like, you can go to like weird places like Toys with Robin Williams, or you can go to a movie that I fucking love, but like a lot of people have problems with, What Dreams May Come.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like, there is no part of me that can watch that movie and believe that he isn't completely dedicated to his wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The
totally.
idea of like spending eternity in hell just to be by her, even if she doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
Just, God, I love that movie. I do. It's just,
Anyway, the Orville.
I think it's just a really powerful. I think it's a really powerful expression of the afterlife sort
Jesus
of
Christ.
idea.
You are so fucking full of emotions.
You know what? I really am. So, lasting impressions.
Oh yeah. Okay. The time
The crew,
capsule. Yeah.
Along with Tim Russ, examines a time capsule from 2015. It includes a cell phone from a girl named Lara Huggins.
Yeah.
She's perfect.
She's perfect.
Not only that, Gordon uses her iPhone to create a holographic version of her on the holodeck.
Yeah.
Falls in love, bangs her, all the
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't blame her. Blame
No.
him.
No. Definitely not. I love this episode. I fucking love it.
It's so 90s.
It's super 90s. I don't give a shit. I just really love this episode. I love it. Honestly, like, and here's why I love it. Like,
Okay.
this episode should be a joke, and it should be like, it's everything to me that's like a little bit of a pain in the ass about the Orville, right? So the one is that the Orville relies on the legacy of Star Trek to be a successful show. It draws on that constantly, and I think that's a fucking crutch, and it irritates the shit out of me. Two, that so much of the humor from the Orville, particularly in the first season, is based on references to shit that we see now, like to just everyday like 20th 21st century fucking culture, and that feels like such a cop out, and it's the stuff that kind of takes you out of the show. And this episode, holy fuck, a time capsule from the fucking 2000s, is just ripe for that kind of bullshit humor. So it should be crap. But what I really love about it is that it's not like it could also go the route that we just saw with Bortus, that it could just end up being a fucking Barkley style goddamn Hollow Addiction episode that we've seen already. So it should suck there too. But it doesn't. Like I really like the path that this episode takes, that Gordon essentially recreates this woman based on the data that is contained in her cell phone, that he falls in love with her, and that his friends see this as like, holy shit, dude, I think you're taking this a little bit too far. This does look a little bit like Hollow Addiction. You're completely in love with what is essentially a fucking program. What are you doing? And I just love that, like, I love that he defended it. I love that, like, he stood up for himself in that scene and was like, this isn't a program. This is her. This is as close as I can get to her. This is based on information that was contained within herself. I mean, this is based on her fucking photos, her fucking text messages, everything that came originally from her. It's not some program. It's just a computation of everything that was her, of all these things that she had expressed about herself. And she's real to me, and I fucking love her. And if you have a problem with it, you can suck my ass. Like, and like when he puts it that with just the way that he put that, and the way that he defended himself in that scene, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, what the fuck, man? I mean, maybe, you know, maybe it does work out. Maybe you can like find love with that. Maybe you do. Maybe you're in love with a fucking ghost. I don't know. It's just an interesting new avenue that this show decided to explore that I haven't seen explored in Trek or any other show. And that to me is that's what separates it, I think. And that's what makes this actually a really good episode, that it actually challenges the idea that like a person can't love a piece of software or something like that. And I think it did it pretty well.
I have a different opinion.
Okay.
Okay, so what I think is probably most interesting about this episode is that its resolution is, once again, not positive.
That is true.
But what you learn in this episode is that a person's character is actually kind of built upon the adversary of their lives, right?
Okay.
So, like, we see... Okay, so Gordon goes through the whole thing, and then she ends up going back to her boyfriend. And what he decides to do is just delete her boyfriend out of the profile.
Yeah.
And she becomes this completely different person.
Yes.
And really what it is kind of like accepting the beauty of reality. And like he eventually comes to accept, like, this is a person that I love, and the reason that I love them is also kind of the reason why I can't be with them.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that she's not real.
Yeah.
In the traditional sense.
Yeah.
So like the reason why she went into singing in the bar and she's just so perfect and all this other nonsense and talented is actually kind of an expression of her frustration with her boyfriend, who's dead for 300 years by the time that this happens. But taking him away makes her just another pretty face.
Yeah.
And not the thing that Gordon loves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he interfered, and now she's not a person anymore. Like, now she is a construct.
Yeah. And that does play a little bit into what you're talking about, because, like, right, you're talking about what is real versus what is fake. But also there's sort of like this this sense of being able to appreciate art or people for their flaws.
Yeah.
Because none of us are perfect. Like I said, I have a couple of flaws. You have several.
Sure.
And so like there's sort of that thing. And like, again, this is a positive message for people who are watching it, because it's like, you know, you and I are not always going to agree. And just because you and I don't agree doesn't mean that I'm a Nazi.
Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't specifically mean that you are either.
I mean, apparently it means that I'm a murderous socialist, according to the beginning of every episode of this show. But
I think that's more based off of your advocacy for a murderocracy, and that you also self-describe as a socialist.
I mean, I don't care. But
in any case, I mean, clearly I don't judge you all that harshly because I continue to talk to you.
sure, yeah.
Even though you are a murderous socialist. The next and arguably more important part is friend.
Yeah.
So Gordon comes to appreciate this woman for all that she is, even though it means essentially that she is unreachable for him.
Yeah.
And there's a certain sort of beauty to that.
There is, yeah.
And that's kind of one of the reasons why I love it. The other parts are that she's gorgeous and perfect.
She's amazing. Yeah, she's beautiful. And yet another bitch with an acoustic guitar and an amazing voice and super
and a
friendly.
cello accompaniment.
Right, yeah, because why not? And playing in
She
coffee
likes all
shops.
the right things.
Yep. Playing in your local Starbucks. Yeah.
It was in a bar too. I like liquor.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, honestly, that was the only cop out in this episode, was that she was just basically a fucking angel. But that aside, I mean, and that's not atypical. That aside, I still thought like there were some moments of real brilliance in this episode. And two, I mean, just the idea that like that she had deposited this thing in a time capsule out of some effort, to kind of live on past her death. It's just cool to kind of see that, the sort of effect that can have on people in future generations and stuff. This fucking guy Gordon had this whole entire relationship with her. It's something I'm sure that she wouldn't have imagined, and none of us would typically imagine nowadays. But we've all had those like kind of experiences where you look at like photographs from the past and all that stuff and try to imagine what those people's lives were like. It's really poignant and really just kind of amazing. And this was a great I think interpretation of that in this episode. So yeah, I mean, I just thought I all around I thought this was a really fantastic episode of this show.
Well, what you're saying is essentially it's eminently relatable.
Yeah, it is.
Because like Anne Frank wasn't writing her diary for us.
Right, yeah. But we have this
woman,
whole experience of her now. And yeah.
This woman wasn't Snapchatting for us.
Yeah.
and every one of us, like, there's a certain fear naturally with mortality that you will be forgotten. And
sure.
I mean, it's a statistical certainty for almost all of us.
For sure. Make your peace with it. But
so like that sense you could win the lottery with this sort of time capsule sort of thing is really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's instantly relatable.
Yeah. Immediately. Yeah. Yeah.
And Tim Russ is in this episode.
Yeah.
I actually don't really like him, but
I like Tim Russ. I don't think it's his fault that Voyager wasn't written the way he wanted it to be written, but
but to point out, this is actually 2 Gordon episodes in a row.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
and
it really is.
Kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, this episode I am 100% completely fucking in love with. And this is like now Orville season 3 needs to happen for sure.
Yep.
That's where Midget Radio is.
Whatever episode we're on next is called Sanctuary. Back on Moklis, the Orville is getting weapons this time. But after that, they take aboard passengers smuggling some very illegal cargo.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
It's a Moclan female, and they are trying to get wherever the fuck Wonder Woman is from. It's apparently inside a nebula.
Okay. Yeah.
Moklis demands those women to be returned so that they can be forcibly given penises.
Yep.
Moklis,
Man, that'd be weird.
it'd be, yeah.
Right? Now I got this dick and balls. Why does it shrink
Right.
in the cold? Like,
Does it have to shrink so much?
why does it sometimes stand up? Jesus Christ.
At inopportune moments. It's really like the most uncooperative part of your
It
body.
really is. It really is.
Of course, yours would probably be your butt.
True. That's gotten better, though, but yeah.
So anyway, this hidden colony asks for admittance to the Union, and the Orville is caught somewhere in the middle of this. I actually thought this episode was intensely fascinating, and when I was watching it, I was like, Midget Radio is gonna fucking love this.
Yeah, I was a big fan. So one of the first episodes where we had to deal with the Mocklins was season 1 with the fucking baby and whether it was supposed to have a penis. And then it's like, oh man, the writer everybody loves is a bitch. I really hate that episode. This episode was just so much better. Like, like, it does continue to raise questions for me about like how many fucking bitches are born in a year on Moklis. It seems like it's all the time. But so there's a hidden colony of lady Mocklins, and they've been basically trying to live under the radar from now, and then they get discovered. They get discovered. And this is another one where the resolution is just flawless. It's just brilliant.
The resolution specifically is that the Moclan females want to be recognized by the Planetary Union.
There's this whole passionate shit show from Ed, right? From the captain, who's like, we need to recognize these fucking people as a colony. It's the right goddamn thing to do.
Yep.
I love it.
And then you get a great performance where they talk about basically if Moclan, or if these Moclan females are recognized as a sovereign state, that Moklis itself will actually leave, and that will really disadvantage the Planetary Union.
Right.
They'll probably end up losing their war.
Our weapon supply is fucked. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. God damn it. It's fucking great.
And did you notice that Tony Todd was the Moclan speaking in the Senate?
Oh no, I didn't. Mostly I just noticed Kelly Hu. I really love Kelly Hu. I don't really understand why. I think it's because she was Lady Deathstrike in X-Men 2, and I just she didn't get to do much, but man, she was great in that movie. And I've just sort of always loved her since then. And plus that fight with her and Wolverine in X-Men 2 was fucking fantastic. But
now who needs to cut off who?
So, every time I see Kelly Hu, it's like, oh my God.
So
Lady Deathstrike. Yuriko, I love you.
Tony Todd, man. Tony Todd.
Anyway.
Tony Todd was. You gotta recognize the voice, man.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, he was the Moclan who was talking to Ed and the rest of the council in the scenes. He's like, if you do not, return these people to our planet, then we're gonna leave.
Yeah.
And the reason why I thought this was an episode that would particularly appeal to you is because the compromise makes everyone equally miserable.
It sucks ass. Yeah. It sucks fucking ass. Yeah.
But it's so reasonable.
It's so
and realistic.
It's so realistic that you're like, nobody fucking got at all what they wanted.
This is just like reality.
Yep.
Everybody hates it.
Fucking blows dicks, man. This is what it is to run nations. Like, it fucking sucks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry your feelings don't win out in this one. Like,
Yeah. I think altogether this is actually probably one of the strongest episodes. Of the season.
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. And the grace with which the leader of the female Mocklins like just kind of accepted the decision. You're just like, that's a fucking leader right there. That's what leadership is. There's
you don't have to hit a home run every time.
Exactly. There's a big bowl of shit, and I have to eat every last fucking scrap of it.
And it also gave us ample opportunity to see more of Kelly and Bortus working together.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of the, feel goods of the Orville going rogue and doing what you as the audience want.
Yeah.
But in the end, you gotta deal with political realities.
Yeah, but like what's so fantastic about it is that like you have to deal with the sort of political and pragmatic realities of the situation, but you fucking need Ed Mercer to stand up for the heart and soul of the Union. You need him to ask those questions. If we're not going to stand up for this society, what the fuck are we standing up for?
Yeah.
What the hell is our purpose here? Like, what are we fucking doing here? What does the Union even mean if we cannot fucking uphold these ideals? And you're like, that's awesome. Because it's absolutely a reasonable question to ask. It's a totally reasonable thing to get fucking pissed off about. And sometimes you got to eat a bowl of shit, man. Like, it fucking sucks, but it's just, this is like, this was such solid writing.
The only thing I thought was a little bit weird was, the Dolly Parton was about
that was
20.
I agree
20% of your...
that was we're kind of straying into the, like, this is because in this season I did start to feel like they started to find like where that line was between, we can throw some jokes in here, not completely invalidate what we're doing at the same time. Like, not make it just total bullshit. The Dolly Parton stuff kind of maybe crossed that line a little bit, but whatever. Like,
it was close.
It was,
It just felt a little sudden, a little out of place.
Yep.
Considering how like just perfect the rest of the episode was.
Just really fantastic. Like, this was such a well-handled. It was just so well handled. The
other thing was, I kind of like wondered, like, you have an entire society of female Mocklins on this planet. Why wouldn't people like, Lokar go there?
Yeah, right? True. I don't know. Maybe you didn't know about it. I don't know.
I kind of feel like they could create a separate society that was sustainable.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And so it was just weird.
Yeah.
So like those were really the only two things that I looked at. And the thing is, the Orville's not over. They can address these things. And
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
And they are going back to each of these wells that we've seen throughout season 1 and season 2. The Gelosia thing, season 1.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
We take one piss break a year.
Yeah.
and initially it's just this throwaway line. They wrote a fucking entire episode about it.
Yeah.
That had 4 storylines that came together at the end.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like they're engaged in like a much more legitimate world building. That for us fucking science fiction nerds, god damn it, this is what we need. I need you to build societies. I need you to build these interstellar fucking cultures. God damn it, because it's fascinating.
It's not only that, but it still maintains the optimism.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the idealism and the
I am so fucking tired of just everything sucks.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
It doesn't need to suck.
It doesn't.
Guys.
Yeah, it doesn't. People can like be friends with each other and Yeah. Yeah.
Things suck.
God. Season 2 of the Orville. I mean, yeah, it just I feel like it's such a turnaround from season 1 that
I'm glad you're here with me, buddy.
Yep.
All right, next episode's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Oh, okay, is this the time travel shit?
I actually really like the name of this episode. But yes, so somehow science makes a version of Kelly appear suddenly on the Orville.
Yes.
So they have to get her back to her own time somehow because clearly she doesn't belong there. But Ed is thinking that he'd still hit that.
Yeah,
so,
totally. Well, shit, yeah.
Oh my gosh. 20-something?
Oh, God,
Adrian
all day. Shit.
Jesus.
Pretty much any something, but yeah.
Today something.
Today's something for sure. Good job, Gordon. But
right? They're engaged. Anyway.
Good job, buddy.
So they eventually decide, or they eventually figure out a way to send her back to her own timeline, but she refuses to go on a second date with Ed.
Yeah, I actually really liked this. Like, it was a fun kind of like stupid, time travel thing, but that ending was cool. I didn't expect it. Like, I didn't expect the twist. I didn't expect oh shit, I guess the mind wipe thing didn't work out. Fuck it. I don't want to deal with the upcoming divorce. Bye-bye. Roll credits. It's like, that's actually a cool ending. Like,
I can't tell you the number of times in this season when I tuned in, and I tried to watch this live because I wanted to be counted with the live people.
Nice.
Because that's how much I cared about this being renewed.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, like, the first 2 or 3 episodes of season 1, I watched it on, blank +7 or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything else, live.
Ridiculous, but
I'd sit with my dog. We would watch it. It would be fun. So the thing is, like, I watched it live, and I can't tell you the number of times when it would be like, it's a fucking Mocklin episode. God damn it.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, you're like, God, I love this episode.
Yeah.
You're like, why is there another Gordon episode?
Yeah.
Gordon is the guy who flies the ship.
Yeah.
He's Sulu, but he's a redhead.
Yeah.
Or, you start getting to these things. I think it was like at least 4 or 5 times in this season where I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, I was like, I liked that episode.
Yeah.
And that's kind of amazing to take me from, like, it's like walking into The Matrix for the first time. I watched The Matrix opening weekend, which was apparently the best weekend to watch it.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Because everybody who went the first weekend was like, this movie is gonna fucking suck.
Right? It's FX porn and that's it. Yeah.
Yep. And then you watch it and you're like, holy shit.
Holy shit.
This movie was fucking great.
Yeah. Dude, that movie's really good. Like, even I sometimes forget how brilliant the beginning of that movie is. With the, like, follow the white rabbit stuff. Like, this is genius. God damn it, this is engaging. Like,
it's not just okay. We're not talking about, like, Demolition Man levels of okay.
No.
The Matrix is a fucking great film.
The first yes. Yeah.
There's only one Matrix movie.
There is only one. There really is only one.
It ends. That is the end. Everything
and you're like,
after
that's
the
great.
first...
Go out on a Rage Against the Machine song. Fucking fantastic.
Yep. I fucking love it. Anyway. I actually watched that yesterday. But anyway.
Nice.
It's on Netflix.
Oh shit, is it really? Wow, damn.
If you live in the Netherlands.
Oh, okay. I'll have to make that my setting.
Like I do.
Yeah.
So anyway, like, there's so many times you walk into these episodes and you're like, no, I don't want any part of it. and they take you from that negative place into like a really positive place, and it's such a good feeling.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's a sign of like all right, season 3 of STD starts up.
Yeah.
God forbid, whatever the fuck is going to happen, it's probably going to be terrible. But
I'm sure.
What if it's actually really good? And
yeah, okay.
And that's a little bit of an exaggeration because STD is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But every episode that I went into where I was like, no, they managed to take me from no to not exactly Citizen Kane, but certainly I liked it.
Yeah.
And like that was a really good experience. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow basically did the same thing.
Yeah.
Until, curiously, the last scene.
Okay.
And then I was like, God damn it, that's just fucking contrarian for no reason.
So I enjoyed it now, and I want to talk about this episode a little bit more before we move on. Because this is the episode where we see like Ed's like, well, holy shit, I have kind of a second chance here, right?
Yeah.
Like I love Kelly. I hate that we ended in divorce. I hate that I spent all this time, focusing on my career in the Union and trying to become a captain and all that kind of shit. That led to her cheating on me and the fucking subsequent divorce and all that. Now I have this second shot to try this. So I'm gonna date fucking 20-something-year-old Kelly, and honestly, like, it's like just looking at it at the surface, it seems really stupid, but I kind of like.
That's why I was in the no category.
It was like. It's an insane decision, but I kind of liked that they were like, let's just fucking lean into this. Cause I get it. Like I understand where he's coming from. And the fact that he is whatever age he is now, and that he's trying to date someone that's so much fucking younger than he is, and that hasn't grown along with him. Like the conflict that would arise, like the appeal of that. And then clearly, like, the conflict that would arise in that she's, like, out clubbing and stuff. And like, there's that whole scene, right, where they're out dancing. And he's like, you know what? We're good right here. I'm good sitting on this fucking couch, drinking this fucking drink. And, like, I get all of that. And I just like that they leaned into that because I completely understand where he's coming from with that.
I can relate.
Right? Yeah, it's like he's got this second shot. And it's like, we'll fucking take it. Just fucking take it and let's see what fucking happens. It seems insane, but why not? Like...
Also, the Mocklin dancing was hilarious.
The Mocklins, yeah. I mean, Bortus and just fucking awesome. But yeah, I like that they kind of decided to fuck it. Let's lean into this. Let's just go for it and see what fucking happens. I don't know. I just like that. I like this. This show actually feels like something like a show that's willing to take a little bit of a risk for the sake of its characters. Because Ed and Kelly, like Ed dating younger Kelly is a stupid, ridiculous thing. And I that the show had the balls to fucking be like, you know what, let's do it. Let's just see.
If the show is intended to be kind of a love letter to Star Trek, like, you can't go into all of these Star Trek plots and think this is a good idea.
No, yeah.
And clearly, Seth MacFarlane has to know, like, This is a callback to 20 years ago when TV was very different.
Yeah.
and he's completely willing to lean into it.
Yeah.
And like that's respectable. And like we can complain that, maybe it doesn't get all the way to TNG, but it kind of is finding its own way.
Sure.
And it also is, I mean, there's a certain bravery to doing this.
Yeah.
And sort of a commitment to the ideals that are supposed to be in Star Trek that are strangely absent Star Trek right now.
And this is where the Orville is becoming the Orville to me, and not the Orville, but do you remember Star Trek? Yeah. Do you remember how great Star Trek was?
I remember when Star Trek was good.
I do too. And I feel like the show is less fucking reliant on that in episodes like this. Like, yeah, I see a similar spirit, I see a similar heart, but I don't have to know about Star Trek to appreciate the Orville. I don't have to already love Star Trek to love the Orville. And that's when it's becoming that's how it's becoming its own fucking thing, and earning a place in my heart, at least. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I actually really liked all of this episode right until the last scene.
I liked the twist. I honestly did. I really did. I liked the twist. I was like, holy fuck, I didn't expect that. And I'm really goddamn curious to see how they figure this out.
So here's the thing. When I watched it, like I said, I watched it live and I saw it and I was like, this is fucking stupid. So anyway, the next episode is called The Road Not Taken.
Right.
Surprisingly, alternate Kelly's decision not to go on a date with alternate Ed Mercer creates a different timeline where the Kalons win. So we follow the alternate timeline as they try to make right what once went wrong.
Yeah.
I was fucking shocked when I saw this episode come on, and you're like, do you remember the last episode and how they kind of like tossed it into the garbage can in the last 3 seconds?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I remember being kind of pissed off about that. It's like,
yeah,
let's explore that.
Yeah.
You know? This episode was surprising, and I had a good time.
So, okay. So I did too. And the conversation that I had earlier today, so there's a clear theme in this episode, and it is basically that apparently if Ed and Kelly don't get married and then divorced, the union and Earth fucked.
So the reason why Ed was in a position to change the universe was that that Kelly was banging Derulio.
Yeah.
And that she felt bad about, getting pounded by that blue guy.
Yep.
And so she helped him get a ship.
Yeah.
And you had to go all the way back to season 1, episode 1 to understand that.
Yeah.
But also like that makes fucking sense. Like this is the butterfly effect that actually you got to kind of experience.
It does, and I get it. And I understand that like some people who may have an issue with this episode would look at this and be like, really, Ed and Kelly, my God, that is so fucking sentimental. It makes me want to vomit. And I understand that. I completely fucking understand that. Because the Ed and Kelly relationship isn't remotely interesting. It's not that interesting. It's not like, so to compare it to Battlestar Galactica, where for a while you're like, holy shit, I think the entire existence of the human race apparently depends on Saul Ty and his fucking slut wife. And I'm almost sort of into that because their relationship is so fascinating that it makes sense that an entire race would maybe depend on it. That's kind of awesome. Ed and Kelly ain't there. Ed and Kelly kind of boring. So I get it that it would feel more sentimental and more trite than anything else.
Well, but they are clearly the least interesting relationship on the crew. Like between, Bordas and Clyden, I mean, even Alara and Dan is more interesting.
Yeah.
Tala and Tolar.
Oh my God, just Tala. Just Tala. What does it matter? Just Tala.
Can we take a brief aside and just say...
Do you want to? Is this the appropriate time?
I have been drinking.
What an upgrade.
I love her.
I love her too. And I will kill you if you get in my way. This is straight up fucking Neanderthal male. Like, yeah. I don't care how long I've known you, Tactic Angel.
if you have to kill me, understand that she already bears my child. So
Awesome. Okay.
She only has about 2/3 of a season to make an impression.
Yeah.
I think she's clearly a much more capable actress.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. Especially
She
after
is-
that episode we talked about, but yeah.
And I just love her. Even in the scene where she's playing Scrabble with Gordon's
Yeah.
hollow girlfriend. There's lots of good stuff. She does a great job.
Yeah. She's like, I don't know what it is about that actress. I mean, she's just fucking gorgeous. But there is something so confident and so self-possessed about her. Like there, and it was. I feel like it wasn't there in Alara. I mean, Alara's gorgeous as well, but like there is a confidence there that I don't know.
It's a confidence that also doesn't seem artificial.
It doesn't
right?
seem artificial, and it absolutely feels authentic to her role as like chief of security, you know?
Yeah.
You're just like, I believe it. I fucking believe it. I totally fucking believe it about her. Yeah.
She got a lot going for her. She got the strength of character,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, to go back to the episode we were talking about, like, she has the emotional fragility
Yes.
that, like, when she's telling Clyden to fuck off for all time, like, you can sense the vulnerability there.
Yeah, it's
she's
awesome.
She's also just so powerful.
Yeah. She's not
And-
consumed by it, and she's not like embarrassed by it. And it's just, that's just her.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking awesome.
So do you remember what you were talking about?
No, I don't. Because now we're on this, and she's all I can think about.
It is distracting. All right, so we were on tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
And then we moved into the, right, now we're on future episode where everything's fucked.
Everything is fucked.
yeah.
The road not taken.
Yeah.
I don't remember. We do get to see Alara in this episode.
We do. She's leading some, like, underground, right? Some underground resistance.
A ragtag group of people fighting against the Kalon.
Yeah. God, what is the
Occupation of
plot
the
here?
galaxy.
Because they realize, basically, Kelly realizes that, like, we have to, like, go back and make the mind wipe work, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
that's-
Yeah. That was
So,
the
like,
plot.
In a strange sort of way, this plot makes so much more sense than Star Trek Discovery.
Well, yeah.
That it
Yeah.
isn't even funny. This is kind of what I was getting at. You have an enemy that wants to destroy all life in the galaxy,
Yeah.
and you have to use time travel to defeat them.
Yeah.
Chester, you shut up.
Aww.
Pay attention.
Chester's good boy.
We'll go lay down. Stop making so much noise. There are people trying to listen to a podcast.
So many of them.
So anyway, you have several similarities between these plots, right?
Yeah.
And in 2 episodes, or 3 maybe, they managed to just completely torpedo STD as a plot.
Yeah.
And then they do all these other things too.
yeah.
And it's fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And you get the positivity.
Yeah.
You get the optimism, you get all of the things that you got, the strangeness from fucking 12, 13 episodes of just utter nonsense.
Yeah.
And you also get these other character stories. I just can't say enough nice things about season 2 of
Yeah.
this.
I agree. And I think, like, so what's as sort of like gross and overly sentimental as the idea that, like, Ed and Kelly's relationship is the thing that fucking prevents the Union from being on the shit end of the stick might be. Like, I get that. But what's actually kind of a little bit cool about that is that Ed and Kelly's relationship is a shit show itself. And that these two characters, it's not an episode about how these two characters are supposed to be together, right? That would be like the gross romantic comedy version to go with. What's cool about this is that, like, they get married, and they have to get married. They have to go through the divorce. They have to go through all of that stuff. And that is still that all of that pain that these two characters would have experienced in that process is meaningful and is actually worthwhile, you know? And it's an interesting...
That kind of goes towards what I was saying with the Gordon plot.
Yeah.
With like all of your failures add up to you as a character.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The beauty that is your persona is not made up of perfect brushstrokes.
Exactly. And in looking at it that way, it makes you realize that any regret that you may feel is kind of unnecessary. Like, it's not, you shouldn't regret failure. It's a natural part of life, and it's the thing that's kind of made you.
I don't know about regret failure. I think you can regret failure, but still understand that, like, some things, like, every time you get knocked down, if you get back up,
yeah,
that's not necessarily a loss.
No, yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, and I mean that's what I mean in the context of regret. Like, because regret to me is usually if you had the chance to go back and fucking change what you did, that's what you would do. And it's like, well, if you did that, that's the opportunity Kelly was presented with in this episode. If you had the chance to go back and prevent all this fucking pain from happening, to prevent the divorce and all of that shit from happening, that's regret. That's the thing you should do. And that's what she did. And it ended up actually being worse. And, like, that may be a little gross to some people, and I understand that, but it's like, that's sort of what's cool. Being able to embrace the failure and being able to embrace divorce, being able to embrace pain, and seeing that, in fact, the pain that you go through as a human actually may in fact lead to a better outcome, is like, there's something kind of poetic and there's something kind of beautiful, and I think helpful about that. And you know, when you look at it through that lens, like, this is a pretty good show.
I think that's an interesting point, because rarely do you see like the plot where somebody goes back, they kill Hitler, and
right, exactly, yeah,
and then actually it turns out it's worse, because
yeah,
as it turns out, Hitler exerted an undue amount of influence over military operations.
Yeah,
maybe if Heinrich Himmler replaces him, they actually fight an intelligent war. They start the war 2 or 3 years later, and everybody else is still in that.
And they don't overextend, and
yeah, you don't try to fight an Eastern and a Western war at the same time.
Yeah,
you're just like, Russia, I'm just gonna take France.
Oops.
You're cool. and they're like, oh, brother, whatever.
Shit, this really worked out for Germany. Didn't quite work out for the Jews, but
still, I mean, you could actually make it worse.
Yeah.
And like, that's not a thing you typically see explored.
It's not, yeah.
And I understand what you're saying. People can look at it and they're like, it's really, really trite that, like, that Ed and Kelly's relationship would be, you know,
it is. They're not wrong. It is, but
it does make perfect sense in what we already know, because it is Kelly's guilt that gets him the command on the Orville.
Yep.
And it is his placement on the Orville that puts him in contact with Isaac.
Right. And that's what's cool. That's what's cool about that too, actually, is that, like, sure, it's her fucking guilt. Maybe her guilt is the thing that actually got him the command, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't capable of command, right? That doesn't mean that because maybe he had an unfair advantage over everybody else that was up for a command at that point, that he had this chick in his corner fucking making this argument for him. Maybe that's unfair in itself. fine. But still, he's the right guy for the fucking job. He's supposed to fucking be there, and he's clearly fucking capable. Like, that's just fucking life, dude. Like, you know? Yeah. Some people end up in the thing they're supposed to be through some bullshit circumstances. Maybe they had an unfair advantage. Yeah, exactly. They had an unfair advantage, but they're still... And due to that unfair advantage, they end up being exactly where they're supposed to be.
You know, the curious thing is, like, you can look back at historical figures, and actually there's an admiral in this show that's called Halsey, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Admiral Halsey is a reference to Admiral Bull Halsey.
Yeah, I remember reading that somewhere. Yeah.
And Bill Halsey, or William Halsey Jr., essentially got his command because when some senator or the president of the United States wanted to take a trip to Europe, they were on his destroyer. And they were like, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of debate about whether Bill Halsey is a good naval commander. But the fact of the matter is, Bull Halsey was a humongous boon to morale.
Yeah.
And the way that people would fight for him probably made a significant difference in several of the campaigns. Now, like, what we're talking about right here is, like, Bill Halsey just happened to be on some fucking tiny torpedo boat that escorted some official across, you know, the pond.
Yeah.
And that got him
right place,
command
right time.
of that got him command of essentially an aircraft carrier later in his life. And that command of the aircraft carrier then transferred over into him being one of the most senior commanders in the fleet.
Yeah.
And in taking the fight. Now, you can, when you say that Ed and Kelly's relationship is trivial, yes.
Yeah.
The fact that Bull Halsey helped transport somebody across the Atlantic in a boat, also pretty trivial.
Pretty trivial, yeah.
And that's just how reality works.
Yeah, dude,
and
that's just, yeah.
And sometimes that's, I mean, you can't argue that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all learned something about World War II today. Hello.
Yay.
Hi.
Well, it's a pretty instructive time in human history, but
there's a lot of stuff going on. It's pretty important.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like, just solid writing. Absolutely solid writing. I mean, I totally understand looking at it as this is fairly trite and a little bit cliche. Like, yeah, but there's some meat on those bones. I mean, there really is some stuff to dig into there. That if you're interested, I think is so much more enriching. And this is the shit. This is the fucking shit that makes the Orville the Orville. It gets to be the Orville now. It's not remember Star Trek. Remember
it
TNG.
has a lot of the it has a lot of the same themes, which is really nice to see.
It does.
Particularly in kind of like the divisive, shitty times that we live in.
Yeah.
And it also does take time to kind of differentiate itself. They've managed to make Isaac not just Data.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
I think they've done a pretty good job of that. Yeah.
Clearly, Ed is not any one of the captains.
Yeah. And I don't want to interrupt you. I just mean, like, to go with the Isaac stuff a little bit more. What I particularly love about the way they're handling Isaac as a character is that I don't ever remember thinking of Data as, what if he's just a really cold robot? I never had to confront that watching TNG, but I have had to confront that watching Isaac. I'm not sure about Isaac. Maybe he's just a cold piece of software. I've never really thought that about Data.
Kind of the interesting thing is that Data is at once both that, I mean, one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek, as you know, is the Silicon Avatar.
Yeah.
And it is essentially because Data is playing like the role of innocence against the Doctor.
Yeah.
And And I love it because just the lines at the end of the episode are just so crushingly depressing. And he delivers them with complete lack of malice. And it's because Data is so innocent and he is so without feeling.
Yeah.
And he actually is kind of cold.
He is, yeah.
He's never considered evil, but he is definitely cold.
No, he is cold, but I think with Data you always have that strong sense of purpose. You essentially understand that he's trying. He's legit trying to like be or understand what it is to be a human being.
Well, I mean, when you get into that episode where he creates Lol, right?
Yeah,
he says
exactly. Yeah,
he says it straight up to her. It's
Yeah.
like there is a purpose in the endeavor,
Yeah.
whether or not we actually get there.
yeah. I
And-
like that, and you don't get that with Isaac. I don't know if Isaac gives a fuck about trying to be a person.
But then at the same time, Isaac also differentiates himself from a Data type character because even though he's unwilling or unable to actually express it, he clearly cares about Finn and her boys.
Right? It seems like yeah, and I love that because I start wondering like, well, where is this coming from? Does he see some sort of value in their lives, or like is this just Data to him? Like I like that. Like I have to wonder about that. I have to wonder where that motivation is coming from.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think they did a good job. I think that at this point you can't just point at Isaac and say, that's Spock, that's Data, that's Tuvok.
No, you can't. Yeah, you absolutely can't. They are doing something different with Isaac than what TNG did with Data, and that's now the show. That's where the Orville is starting to come into its own. Now it's its own fucking show.
And Ed is different. Tala is different.
Yeah.
Bortus, like you said, I mean, he's a little bit of a joke, but he also has like when you're watching TNG, when you're watching DS9, when you're watching STV or STD or STE, any of these things, you don't have characters that are actually in functional relationships. I guess the closest you probably get is like Keiko and O'Brien. But like
I mean, okay, so my favorite Star Trek relationship is Paris and B'Elanna.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that though.
By a long shot. It's my favorite.
But there's not a lot of it.
Whatever. There's enough of it that I love both of them so much. And I love their relationship. I just whatever. I'll continue with your thought, but
I will grant you that. But like but we don't see on a week-to-week basis the sort of dysfunction that you get with Abortus and Clyden. And like that's a really fascinating thing.
Yeah.
It's a nice addition to the actual story of the Orville.
Yeah.
And like they are differentiating themselves while still playing to the same themes, and it can be both a love letter to Star Trek while also being its own thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I feel like they're moving it fucking forward. You know, like they're that's what's refreshing about it, and that's a little bit of what Star Trek Continues did as well. Like we're not just referring to things that already happened in Star Trek. We're just not retreading the same plot lines and the same themes and all of that shit. They're finding some new territory here. And that's legit talent to me. That's and it's becoming it, and that's what makes it its own thing. And yeah, I don't know. It's such a huge fucking turnaround from season 1. That now I feel like the Orville is its own entity. Now I feel like I don't have to know what Star Trek was to appreciate what the Orville is. Now I can appreciate the Orville for what it is on its own.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it could have started out with watching the Orville just straight out of the box, because there's nothing you need to understand about Star Trek.
Not. It's just that it relies so like, I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. Season 1 is still like
I think
right,
they're
we still have the
catering to the
asteroid
same audience.
for the world is hollow and I have touched the sky. Like we saw that same fucking episode play out. Like it's just, and I think like what pissed me off, honestly, what pissed me off was that I think it was the third episode of season 1 of Orville where it's like where it dealt with Bortus and Clyde and having a baby and sort of the ethics around whether or not it was supposed to be gender assigned or not. All of the reasoning, all of the logic in that drove me fucking insane. I just feel like it wasn't tackling it. It wasn't tackling that very intelligently. And so it's like, well, if I'm going to get a show that one relies on what a great show Star Trek: The Next Generation was, and two is going to try to dive into like the sort of these larger ethical and moral questions with the kind of bullshit fucking reasoning that I just saw in season 3, I can't do it. I cannot do it. If you title it Star Trek, I guess I'll have to watch it for the same reasons that I watched Star Trek Discovery, but you are called the Orville. Now I just feel like I'm wasting my time. But
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I understand your problem with it, but at the same time, I don't think you need to do it. I don't think you need to have seen it in order to appreciate it.
fair
Honestly,
enough. Yeah.
Kind of not having ever seen the original series would probably make you like that episode more because you'd think it was original.
I mean, potentially, it's just the rationale behind so much of it is so fucking stupid. Oh wow, the writer everyone that everyone loves on Mockless actually has tits and a vagina. Holy shit! What a plot twist! Like it's so fucking stupid. I just can't. I cannot get behind it. You don't understand like how many females are born. Like, is it just one every 100 fucking years or what the hell? Like.
At least they didn't throw away the idea. They
did it, and they came back to it, and I think they did a really great job in season 2 with it. But
I'm interested to see where these kind of plots that we've seen started, because like at this point,
yeah,
kind of any episode that you've ever seen in this show could possibly come back as a repeat.
And I hope it does. Like they're doing some legit world building, I feel.
And that's
You
actually
need to
kind
do
of
that.
one of the things that like TNG didn't do all that well.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
You got some of it with, Skin of Evil and then Tomorrow's Enterprise.
Yeah.
And then what's her face who was
You didn't really get it until
daughter.
DS9, and then you get a little bit of Dominion, and then you're like, oh fuck, now we need to start paying attention to Klingons and where they're at, and where the Romulans are at, and where everybody's fucking at. So
But
that we understand how to deal with the Dominion
more,
and
that was a little bit more straight lines.
yeah,
And I kind of feel like these are separate lines that occasionally intersect with each other.
yeah, which I like. I hope they're feeling like. I hope the Orville is feeling like, we actually have this whole world here, and we can start having some fun with it and start building on it, and then coming back to it.
Well, the thing with Sanctuary is it was kind of the intersection of several storylines, because you had the Mocklin storyline. I guess it wasn't. Like Identity did the same thing though, but because you definitely did have the Krill storyline intersecting with the Kalon storyline.
Hell yes, yeah.
But you do have different people interacting, and it's fucking good.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, God, I love it so much that what's so great about that episode, with the Kalon, the female society, like you're really starting to see the Kalon where they land on. We understand, right, that we have this like all fucking powerful robot race that's ready to annihilate all like organic life in the universe. We get it, but we ain't having these bitches live on their own. We ain't doing it. Like you start to see like where they're at with respect to their fucking ideals. We're ready to die for this. Fuck you. We're just not having it. We're not having a bunch of female Mocklins. I don't care if the robots wipe us the fuck out. Like,
well, I mean, like this is good possible storytelling because it's like there's so many people who are gonna watch that and be just totally triggered by the idea, right?
Sure.
And they're still a member of the Planetary Union.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Gotta deal with them.
They're still our friends.
Yep.
Right?
You gotta handle it.
Just, I mean, I think that the society needs the Orville now more than ever because
that's what we would say typically about Star Trek. But yeah.
I mean, like, okay, if we go back to Star Trek: The Next Generation or DS9,
yeah.
Like, the things that were happening in the 80s and the 90s weren't all that important.
Sure.
Like, there's some stuff now and again, but more or less we all got along before we started getting into identitarianism and other nonsensical belief structures. But, you know, it was good. We could watch an episode of Star Trek and not think, holy shit, the guy in charge of this place is a black guy. You're
yeah,
like,
I know.
And nowadays it's like the next Star Trek series is gonna be with a black lady. And you're like, okay,
that's great.
I don't think she's a very good actress. Well, you're fucking racist.
Yeah. I get it, but yeah.
To put it your way, this is a more progressive show than Star Trek is right now.
Yeah. Yes, leaps and bounds, yeah.
And on the bright side, we have a season 3 to look forward to.
Yep, thank God. I'm really happy about that. Yeah. I'm very happy about that.
I'm happy about it as well.
I never thought, like, seriously, a year ago, Midget Radio didn't know he'd be happy about a season 3 of the Orville. Never would have predicted it. But yeah, absolutely, really, really happy to hear that there's a season 3. I'm really excited to see where they go.
I mean, if they keep doing a good job with their characters, if they keep paying attention to those storylines,
then you can put a giant mirror in front of a planet, and I won't completely hate the show. Like,
maybe just the episode,
right? Just the episode, fine, but I will forgive it. Like.
So any closing thoughts, Midget Radio?
Yes, actually, I'm sure this episode is retardedly long at this point, but I'm not sure how we got through all of this without talking about the Bortus smoking episode.
This episode is retarded, but please go ahead. That actually was the episode with Gordon and the holographic lady.
Oh shit, yeah, it would have been the same episode. Holy fuck, how do we not mention Bortus smoking is the greatest thing possibly I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen someone make smoking look so fucking cool. Like, I thought that was a 90s thing, but holy shit. If nobody knows how to smoke a cigarette like fucking Bortus.
He does have it kind of hanging off of his lip with a careless disregard.
Just an absolute pimp. Like,
yeah, you're taking command of the ship? I'll fucking smoke this thing.
500 cigarettes.
When he's walking around and he's like picking out single cigarettes. And then he opens up the throw pillow and it's stuffed with cigarettes.
Fucking amazing.
And then they start fighting. It's just funny.
Oh, just awesome. Awesome.
And also in the character of the episode.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah. I fucking loved it. All right. That's it, though. But
I agree. I enjoyed that quite a bit. I enjoy the positivity, the optimism.
Yeah.
The things that Star Trek gave up on.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
I'm not in love with the characters in the sense that I would be in love with Data or Garrick or whatever.
No, yeah. I can't say I'm quite there either. But still, these are solid characters that I care about.
Yes.
So yeah,
Right.
and this is the point that this is what I hated about season 1 of the Orville, and this was a big part of my resistance to it as a show, is that I want to be able to talk about it absent Star Trek. I want the Orville to be like its own fucking show. And while it may not be, while I may never love it as much as I love like TNG or DS9 or Classic Trek or even fucking Voyager, which there are characters on that show that I love to pieces. Even if it never attains that for me, like it's still a solid show in itself. It doesn't need Star Trek to be a success, I think.
I can go with that. I'm glad that you are where you are.
Me
at
too.
This point.
I'm happy too. Yeah, I'm very happy about it.
I think this is maybe the longest positive episode
It probably is.
of what is the name of our thing?
I don't remember anymore.
All right. Well, anyway, guys, that has been episode number 82 of the Wednesday Night Gentleman Multimedia Empire official podcast. I have it written down. That's why I can remember.
Oh, good job. That's way to plan ahead.
I know. I'm really good at some host. Please give us a like if you've enjoyed this video, or subscribe to our channel. I'm reading right now. You can
Great.
also find us on Twitter, where we are at WNG_MME_OPC, or head on over to our Facebook page. I can't talk very well. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you again on episode number 83 of this podcast.